великий народе великої України, що відзначає сьогодні великий день, День Незалежності, свято вільних людей, свято сильних людей, свято гідних, свято рівних, українців та українок, усіх, в усій нашій державі. Сьогодні ми відзначаємо 32-гу річницю нашої незалежності, незалежності України. Це цінність для кожного з нас. І за це ми боремось. І в цій боротьбі важливий кожен. Бо ця боротьба за те, що важливо кожному, це незалежна Україна. У великій війні немає маленьких справ, немає непотрібних, немає неважливих. Це стосується і людей, і дій, і слів. Коли ми відзначаємо незалежність України, кожен може відчути у ній себе. Кожен може спитати у себе, а де ти в українській незалежності? А що твого додалося незалежності? А чим ти допоміг незалежності? І сьогодні я хочу присвятити це привітання саме тобі. Тобі, хто дає Україні незалежність. Тобі, воїне, ти став на захист України. Я дякую кожному солдату і матросу, кожному сержанту і старшині, кожному офіцеру, кожному генералу. Вам, батькові українського воїна, вам, матері українського захисника, усім українським родинам, які виховали у своїх дітях любов до України і відвагу боронити її щосили. Я дякую кожному, хто чекає рідних з фронту, кожному, хто щодня молиться за них, хто телефонує або пише таке важливе, як ти, аби почути таке бажане, все добре, таке цінне, я тебе кохаю. Наш син зробив учора перший крок. Доці сьогодні сказала: тато, кожне слово важливе. І важливий кожен, хто робить так, аби це слово могло бути сказане і почуте. Хто забезпечує в країні зв'язок між людьми. І це більше, ніж просто комунікація, це зв'язок із життям. Слова підтримки, слова подяки. І, на жаль, слова, які є найбільш болісними на війні. Його більше немає. Чимало українців втратили через війну близьких. Герої, завдяки яким ми не втратили Україну. Я дякую і вклоняюсь перед кожним і кожною із них. Минулого тижня я відвідав наші бойові бригади, командні пункти розташування бригад, і є те, що об'єднує їх усі. Нашим воїнам допомагає одна додаткова унікальна броня. Броня людяності, броня щирості. Це дитячі малюнки. Їх можна побачити в кожній бригаді, на стінах, в кімнатах. Малюнки для батька чи брата, або для солдатів, яких дитина може навіть не знати, але яких підтримує, бо це українські солдати. І це для них головна мета наступу, де кожен крок вперед такий важливий, але крок назад такий неможливий. Бо позаду саме ви, наші діти, українські діти, саме ви, хто створює ці малюнки. І я хочу сказати тобі, кожному хлопчику і кожній дівчинці: ти не уявляєш, наскільки це важливо, коли ти підтримуєш наших бійців. Я дякую тобі. Я дякую кожній українській матері, для якої наша держава є і залишиться домом. Попри те, що через війну довелось поїхати. І коли в будь-якій країні мама дає своїй дитині книжку українською, щоб дитина не втратила себе і свого, коли мама вчить української, коли переживає за Україну і чекає новин з України, чекає, щоб можна було повернутися. Це найважливіше, бо ви важливі. Всі українці, де б не довелось зараз бути. Я хочу подякувати всім українським вчителям, які працюють, які змогли працювати навіть онлайн, які будують освічене майбутнє навіть там, де ворог зруйнував школи. І кожен, хто творить дива наживо. Тисячі українських медиків, які рятують тисячі життів. Українські лікарі, медичні сестрички, медичні брати, бойові медики. Ті, хто 24/7 не відпускає життя і бореться за нього. Незалежно від того, чи є сирена повітряної тривоги, незалежно від того, чи є приліт, незалежно від того, чи ти на фронті, чи ти в цивільному житті. Я дякую вам. Дорогі народи України, минулої зими ми пережили масовані ракетні атаки, загрозу блекауту, були різні моменти, коли міста стояли у темряві, коли був холод, була і незламність, і коли наші люди працювали і повертали світло, тоді було і гучне «Слава Україні!», «Слава українським електрикам!». І підіймали келихи за ППО та наших енергетиків, і це абсолютна правда. Наші енергетики працювали цілодобово під час повітряних тривог, іноді під обстрілами, завжди у небезпеці, завжди, знаючи, як світла чекають в лікарнях, на оборонних підприємствах, і як світла і тепла чекає кожна родина. Але, на жаль, є родини, які не дочекались додому батька, сина, брата, звичайного електрика, працівника ремонтної бригади, рятувальника, поліцейського, пожежника. Всіх, хто загинув під час виконання службових обов'язків, хто допоміг зробити найважливіше, не дозволив російській темряві зламати нас, нашу державу, нашу свободу, нашу незалежність. І у світлі, і у темряві з нами були наші новини, наші українські журналісти. З нами була правда, і світ чув Україну. Я дякую всім, хто поширює правду про Україну і про цю війну різними мовами світу. Але окремо я хочу сказати сьогодні про тих, про кого поки не можна говорити в новинах, чиї імена відомі небагатьом, але чия робота помітна усім. Наші ракети, українські снаряди, наші гармати, українські дрони, лелеки, фурії, морські дрони, нептуни, корсари, стуни. Ми виробляємо все це. Українці виробляють все це. І коли ми пишаємось, що потопили флагман ворожого флоту крейсер «Москва», коли радіємо влучанням по Кримському мосту, тоді ми дякуємо і тим, про кого зараз теж не скажеш, імена не назвеш, але про кого в майбутньому напишуть книжки, обов'язково знімуть кіно. Про тих, кого я нагороджую закритими указами і хто здійснює найскладніші операції. Дякую вам. Ви всі важливі. Як і кожен з тих, хто не має права на помилку, хто розміновує наші території, наші міста і села, наші поля, хто засіває поля попри обстріли, хто попри обстріли збирає урожай, хто доставляє його по країні, аби у нас був хліб, хто попри небезпеку везе українське зерно залізницею, дорогою, морем в багато інших країн, аби у світі не було голоду. Важливий кожен, хто працює і дає роботу іншим, сплачує податки, за які забезпечується військо, оборона, рух вперед і майбутня перемога. Кожен, хто організовує збори та підтримує вогонь волонтерства цієї щирої української єдності. Кожен, хто знаходить і привозить все те, що Так потрібно в окопах кожен, хто тренує наших воїнів, хто здобуває славу Україні спортивними перемогами, хто відкрив двері власного дому і прихистив тих, хто втратив свою домівку. Я дякую вам, ті, хто народжує для українців мотивуючі строки, кладе їх на прекрасну музику, виконує ці пісні для бійців на фронті, для поранених в госпіталі, на благодійних концертах у світі, який бореться пліч-опліч з нами, з Україною. Важливий кожен, хто пережив окупацію, хто тримав на площах український прапор, хто досі в окупації, але тримає наш стяг так, щоб окупант не знайшов, хто чекав і хто дочекається України, кого було поранено, хто втратив кінцівки, але не втратив себе. І головне, що ми всі тебе не втратили, хто пережив полон, у кого забрали свободу, але не волю, хто не втратив Україну в собі, хто повернувся і продовжує битись. І ті, хто повернуться, обов'язково. Всі, хто довів, всі потрібні, всі важливі. І люди, і дії, і слова. Бо ми всі зробили так, що коли один говорить, весь світ відповідає: героям слава! З Днем Незалежності, Україно! Слава Україні!
Hey, sound check. Hope you hear me. Otherwise, I will have to try to fix the microphone, and we all know how that ends. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this amazing, well, it's Saturday for me. Whatever time of day you are having, I'm really glad seeing you all here. As always, I would like to start by saying huge thanks to all of the moderator staff that are keeping this channel running and troll-free as much as possible, so we can have civilized discussions, so we are able to read each other, I am able to answer your questions, so huge thanks to moderators. And I started today the stream with this speech from President Zelenskyy, because you know, he did a little bit of a trip to US recently, and that's the main topic of today's discussion. What's the future of Ukraine with this prospects of new weapons deliveries, and what can we expect? But we kind of got used to that part that, you know, Ukraine is fighting, Russia is there, and I just wanted to take my time to underline some of those fundamental things that just sometimes disappeared inside of the news cycle, especially when we saw a lot of American internal politics play out on the stage during that Zelensky's visit, you know, where there was a lot of accusations, like a lot of these things, because none of them really matter. And that's why I think the previous clip was so important, because it literally showed what we ought to remember, is that Zelenskyy is there. He's not the person that is leading his country somewhere. Like, he's not responsible for it. He was just there to be the hero for people. It is first and foremost the Ukrainians, the normal Ukrainians, everyday people like you, me, and everyone else that are doing and going on with their lives. The Ukrainian soldiers that we are referring to right now a lot of these soldiers never needed or wanted to be soldiers. A lot of these people, they just wanted to go on with their lives. They wanted to have a normal, peaceful life. The war is what was brought to them. None of them was supposed to do that. Every hero that right now dies for Ukraine, it was not a conscript. It was not a made-for-war person. It was just a person that just wanted to live the life. So when we're saying that maybe there's some kind of ulterior motives, what are the possibilities for Ukraine or not, then this clip, I hope, showed the resolve and the inner force that is driving Ukraine to win this war. Because winning, this is not a game. It's not winning or losing something. It's not really a computer game. It's real people making a future for themselves, their families, to live in free society, in free world, with just peaceful lives where there can be no one that will come and threaten them again. And I am very glad for President Zelenskyy in the last clip to remind us that it's not the war of just one person or a group of people of interest. It's the whole country that has risen up to defend itself against Russian aggression. And that's the starting word for today. So we will talk about this and everything else. As remember, if you want to get the music and some of the playlists of the clips that I played at the start, I usually add them to the music playlist, but maybe then shuffle around. You can just write !playlist. I will open the questions chat right now, so you can post the questions and I can go through them one by one. And we're going to have some talk later on where we're going to discuss the ATACMS, or how was it? I think it was Wall Street Journal or someone else. If you read my thumbnail, some journal referred to them as ATACMS. It's a little bit hilarious, but I thought it was pretty funny because ATACMS were such a prominent thing to a lot of topics surrounding Ukraine. So for me, it just showed that whoever was writing it had no idea what's happening in Ukraine or whatever is required. Just absolutely hilarious. Because everyone in this chat knows how to write ATACMS correctly. Okay, let's go. So, questions here, please. Love. There we go. Should I pin this? No, I don't think I should pin this. I think it's just appearing for you at the top. If it doesn't appear at the top, write me in chat because it should be at the top. Okay. A little bit of arrangement of the chats, and there we go. So we have question chat, we have live chat, and we have the funding chat where I say thanks to all of the people that support this channel. As with always, guys, a big support, big question and request. What will we do to support Ukraine or support me? Remember, on this channel, I do donate some of the profits of this channel, majority of the profits of the channel, to Ukraine. So if you want to support this channel, it's all great. However, I think this channel earns more than enough to sustain itself, and I'm able to support things. So if you're really looking to support Ukraine, try to instead do something that we are actually doing with NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade once again. So NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade strikes again, and we have a new fundraiser with NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade, guys. I don't know how, but already someone found it and donated 700 euros before we were ever able to promote it. But yes, NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade and us finally decided that we're gonna get money for another new truck. So you're another opportunity to get some goodies and check out what's available there. So this is the link. If you get the absolute fabulous thing for you to get is this patch with tits for Ukraine, which are amazing. Thank you so much for Ali for inspiring. She definitely had had a say in this. I think it was because Ali copyrighted Tits for Bakhmut or Boobs for Bakhmut or something. So because it was copyrighted by Ali, I couldn't really use it. Therefore, it was Tits for Ukraine. Goody. So therefore, nice, funny patch, but if we're going beyond the joke, then obviously it's a great truck. That's pretty much most of the major YouTubers are doing, and we know why it's being done, because it's a great option to help Ukrainian armed forces, because we're giving them something that is not weapons directly. So all of the people that are having moral problems of donating to direct weapons, that will kill Russians, other people, thankfully it's not there. So it's just a truck that will help save people, that will help deliver stuff. It's a direct help to Ukrainian armed forces because there is no middleman. We all know what's going to be there. It's going to be a truck with all of the required components specifically designed for the army. And most importantly, you're going to have a full-blown video, full-blown delivery, videography about how it was done and what is actually being done with your money. Let's see what the people from the 41st Mechanized Brigade are saying about this. Let me just put a headset because I want to hear this.
Detached Mechanized Brigade Medical Company. We are in need of 2 4x4 vehicles, 1 pickup truck and a jeep, which are necessary for evacuation and transportation of the wounded. We kindly ask Ukraine Matters and Charity Fund of the 69th Sniffing Brigade to help us upon this need. These vehicles are very urgent for us, especially now, because any wasted time means someone's life. Glory to Ukraine!
Glory to heroes!
Wow, these Ukrainian videos are becoming professional. They're now in English. They know what to tell. But I actually didn't know that it would be for medical staff. Now this makes things a lot easier. So yeah, guys, link. I'm gonna again post the link, and I'm gonna put the link as a pinned comment. So we will have this link to support Ukrainian armed forces directly with another vehicle, and I'm very happy that we're doing it again. So get your stuff, get your new patch. And with regards to other patches that were issued with 100,000 subscribers, some people were a little bit worried with uncertain dates. It's a little bit of a delay, mostly because there is going to be a little bit something special coming with those patches that you want. So I'm not just sending them. So please bear with me. Everything is going to be fine. I will send out everything and I will reach out to everyone. This week was just crazy. But this week was not just crazy for me. This week was crazy for Russians because, whoa, they got smacked around, weren't they? Jeez, what the hell happened in Crimea? We knew that Budanov and his boys were up to something. We knew that the operations became more and more complex inside of Crimea. We saw that what was targeted, remember I was explaining and that they were in some of my videos during this week that there was special operations specifically designed to reduce the ability to spot anything and reduce the anti-air capabilities of Russians. And we see this finally materialized inside, like during the broad daylight. In the broad daylight, in the middle of the city, we saw Storm Shadow missiles just flying in through all of that supposedly impenetrable air defense that Russia is having there in Crimea, and just dab smack destroying the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation. That is big. Not like important thing to know. Not all news that are big in the military sense always are they having the same media impact. For example, just a couple of days ago, a secondary command of the Black Sea Fleet was struck, and that secondary command headquarters was actually, some people say, were even more important than the main one. And the main one that got struck today instead got all of the hype and media coverage of that strike. So Ukraine not only have struck the important positions, and right now there is still no confirmation on what are the precise losses. We definitely hear that some bigwigs got some shrapnel in their buttocks, and maybe they have departed to meet with Mr. Prigozhin already. But we also hear that potentially, not hear that we potentially, we also are we are can I cut this out? I can. We are observing as the Russian media and propaganda platforms are in a complete meltdown. They are so absolutely livid about what has happened. It's all 5 stages of grief for everyone in a cycle non-stop. They're like in a hamster wheel running around. Because of the clear videos, because of literally frame by frame, as you can see that missile's like tick, 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 and boom. And then everything that is inside just gets obliterated. That is a major impact, a huge impact. That is really, really good. Will it break Russian morale? Will it make sense that Ukraine loses things, or like Ukraine wins things faster? Depends. Obviously, there is going to be damage done because top generals of the Black Sea Fleet got decimated, and hopefully even the main commander of the Black Sea Fleet operations would be also in the grave, because, well, strike on the headquarters, that's not a small thing. Like, that's not a small thing. Imagine you would be Americans, and then suddenly there's some kind of random missiles, 2 of them in a broad daylight, that just come and dab smack and destroyed one of the operational headquarters. That is a shock, right? Would it be a shock? Obviously, it's not implying that it should happen or something. It's just as an example of how severe it is. But the media impact, the image that this draw, the success factor, the actual political points for all of the people that are supporting Ukraine is huge. That is really good. So it's a great media story, and I'm really loving it because Ukraine needs some of those media stories to keep people really, really happy, and at least for a little bit. And that is happening all right. Yeah, what air defense doing? Indeed, my friends. Key Hansen, thanks so much for 10 memberships. Benjamin, thank you so much for 5 memberships. Dr. Canada, Canada loves Ukraine, Ukraine loves Canada, and Denmark and Latvia as well loves Canada. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Canada. OCT, appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for unwavering support. Appreciate it. Tom, welcome to Brother in Arms. Kila Hella, thank you so much for $5. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. I'm really bad. Average Joe, thank you so much for 5 Canadian bucks. Russia's air defense before Ukraine S-400. After Ukraine S-400. Yes. Oscar Perez, thanks so much for $5. Billy Smith, thank you so much for $50. Per Christopherson, thank you so much for 279 Canadian. I appreciate it. Canada rocks, for sure. Oh my God, Canada video really was inspiring, especially with all the love to US. Absolutely with love to US, you know, because US is doing a lot. We will talk about this more. But huge thanks to Canada, because the way that Zelenskyy was received in Canada was extremely, extremely pleasant for all supporters of Ukraine, because I think that is what we want to see Zelenskyy being greeted as a person, you know, that is doing really great job, and being supported, and that we're still supporting Ukraine, rather than being questioned always like, oh, but like, are you sure you're doing the right thing or something? It's just a little bit like, it warms my heart as a supporter of Ukraine, despite knowing that obviously US is a lot more important in forging Ukrainian victory down the line. So with all love to US, but Canada takes the cake in how they met Zelenskyy this time. Zelenskyy is a living legend, that's for sure. That is for sure. Like, we are, I've tried to underline it to you guys multiple times, that we are living in times where this will be written in history books. we are seeing history happen before our eyes. And we're seeing legends really being born. This is really nice. All right, let's go to some questions. Alex Baker, attack them. I will. Thank you so much. That's not really a question. Mate Milas, Verbove. Okay, so Verbove, Ukrainian forces, I'm going to do the map update tomorrow, so I'm going to just cover it briefly. But Ukrainian forces are advancing to Verbove. They have, as explained, broken through. What this refers to is that they were able to establish connection through the Surovikin defense lines that allows them to bring equipment towards like the Surovikin first defense line consists kind of like of one anti-tank ditch, and then there's after a couple of hundred of meters or like a kilometer, there is the second anti-tank ditch, and in between there is problems. Ukrainian our military units and infantry already made it past both of these and assaulted Verbove. However, only now in the recent couple of days we've seen Ukrainians operating heavy vehicles in the area of Verbove. So the fighting is still ongoing. But what happened is that Ukrainians already established connection on how to bring heavy vehicles past that first two defense lines of Surovikin's defense line. So we can pretty much say that the defense line of Surovikin, the first one, is already broken. It needs to be widened up. It needs to be, Ukraine still needs to establish presence. They still have forces to beat, but they have already broken through the first part of Surovikin defense line. I think next week will bring some pleasant news for us all, which would be really nice. Ali, will Ukraine get all the different ATACMS, cluster and frag? So far, mostly we heard rumors about how much and what kind of ATACMS Ukraine will give. Some of people are referring and saying that this is just a symbolic gesture of delivering ATACMS to make it the same way as it was done with Abrams tanks, to but to put additional pressure on Germany to start delivering Taurus missiles. From the speculation that I've heard about ATACMS, it's expected that Ukraine will be delivered smaller range ATACMS, so that fires not to 300 miles, but rather the ones that fire at 140 miles. I believe there is like a couple of versions of those. So it's less, like it's firing not as distant. And secondly, it's apparently might be expected that it will be cluster munition based ATACMS systems, so they would not be able to use them against something like Kerch Bridge, just because cluster munitions don't really work that well. Cluster munitions, on the other hand, work extremely well against some of the Russian bases and positions inside of the fields, which is pretty fine. So there are rumors, but there is no confirmed information yet. So I will definitely inform you on it as soon as we hear more details on the deal. Why do you think Russia, Savage Junkie, why do you think Russia didn't bomb the Ukrainians' parliament or the big statue where they changed the USSR symbol free week ago? I mean, they tried. Like, have you not heard that almost daily there are missiles intercepted over Kyiv, and also that there are multiple like super impossible to intercept Kinjal missiles being intercepted? The fact that Russia didn't bomb things in Kyiv, in Ukraine, and didn't kill anyone is not from a lack of trying. You are again assuming something that I've discussed in every stream that I do, is that Russia has the capabilities to do certain things. And I every time I'm explaining, so the only way that Russia is doing something is when no one is watching or when it's allowed to do for Russians. When there is actual resistance and where actual capabilities are put in place to stop Russians, then it turns out that all of their technologies turn to shit. Russia is full of shit. So the fact that they don't do something is not because of lack of trying. Like, oh, it's like, oh, Russia didn't bomb Ukrainian parliament because, oh, it didn't want to. Why did you think Putin didn't do it? It's like, no, they tried. They just failed. They suck. Russia sucks. Okay, Phoenix. What's your opinion on Poland-Ukraine controversy? Do you think Ukraine was right to threaten to sue Poland, or was it a bad move? Firstly, really loaded language you're using. Very loaded language. We need to understand a couple of very important things in this matter. First thing, the most important, the absolutely crucial, that is pretty much taking about 90% of this situation. There are elections in Poland, and current ruling party is actually not in a it's basically make or break situation for them. They really are struggling for support. So they are looking for any publicity and, any publicity and populism that they can get. So having an argument and as Morawiecki, the prime minister, put it, and saying, oh, the Polish people so great, we are here to defend Polish people no matter what. That is a clear populist rhetoric. So first and foremost, 90% of whatever discussion between Poland and Ukraine, pure populist pre-election campaigning. That is something we need to get. And that is like a baseline. Then we go into the factual matters. And the factual matters are very clear. Poland is wrong. As much as it is maybe not the right call and maybe a little bit heavy-handed for Ukrainians to consider going to the World Trade Organization for a trade dispute, which is, I'm not sure, like when I'm pronouncing this word, I'm actually already not so unsure that this is incorrect things to do. Because where else would you go into? If you have a trade dispute, you have a World Trade Organization to dispute it. Poland is in the wrong here because it has been specifically agreed that this grain export will be in place for a certain period of times, after which there would need to be a proper solution found. European Union and European Commission have clearly evaluated the case. And remember, Europe is a single market. It's not every country that defines what happens with the trade in Europe. Not every country. It's the binding agreement of the European market. So there is a lot of above national forces when we're getting to trading. So when there is European Commission that are saying, Poland, this does not go with our trade policy. Would you please not do that? And to which Poland responds, we don't care, we still will. That is not a very good rhetoric. Finally, it was clear that some proposals were on the table. For example, with Slovakia right now, and I believe with Romania, there has been right now agreed proposals on how to resolve this conflict. However, when Morawiecki was talking about this, what he mostly referred to is that Zelenskyy insulted Poles, which is a complete non sequitur, which is a complete nonsense. It's twisting of words. So is Ukraine fully in the right and trying to go to World Trade Organization to cover this dispute? It's questionable. I think there is an argument to be made and said that was a dick move. That was not very nice. However, we see Ukraine is very willing to drop any kind of these cases as soon as there is a proposition for a resolution. So there was some constructive path towards de-escalation of the problem, the factual problem. However, when we're looking at the case of Poland, what we're seeing a lot of populist rhetoric that is not very related to the factual situation at hand. It's leaning very heavily into certain elements within Polish society to make sure that the support from those elements are handed over in the upcoming elections in Poland to make sure that the ruling party stays in power. I hope this covers it all. If I'm wrong, that we have a democracy here for the most part. You are very welcome to disagree on this question with me in the chat. But this is how I'm seeing it. So no, 90%, this is just pre-election campaigning. Yes, Adamantium, how many brigades are still in reserve? There are some. Jim Joseph, what targets do you think the cluster ATACMS will hit? Russians. Luin VB, what use will ATACMS with cluster warhead? They will hit Russians. Alex Baker, Nature Hub, after the war, Ukraine can supply EU with oil and gas for insane riches for their future. I don't think it was, I think you wrote in wrong chat. Michael Barnett, Lavrov called Ukraine Nazis at the UN. Does this comment mean we have moved into world war? The Surreal Taco, do you think there were, like, okay, let's put it this way. Who cares? Like, stop listening to Russians. Like, they make fart. Like, my problem with a lot of the comments about what Russians are saying is that when they open their mouths, the only thing I'm hearing is fart sounds. And yet people are saying, supposedly hearing some constructed words and sentences from there. And I have a huge disconnect because of that. Because I rewatch the recording when supposedly Lavrov speaks, and the only thing I hear is like, that's it. That's my problem. Stop paying attention what Russia is saying. No one gives a shit. It's a real talker. Do you think there will be winter offensive in the south as sand will prevent muddy conditions? Yes, and we're going to cover it in details. Next week, we're going to do the evaluation of the offensive campaign in the summer. So it's a little bit, it's going to be a little bit covered next week. So, but you already are like touching the points that I'm thinking about. Do you think it's fair for the West to criticize the suspension of Ukrainian presidential elections? I think yes. I mean, that's like presidential elections in Ukraine are a stupid idea. The main part, like without even touching that not all of the people can vote, the main problem is that presidential elections and organizing these elections costs money. Money that could be spent on the armed forces of Ukraine. Why? Why would you do that? It is so dumb. I think like if Zelenskyy said, okay, if you can finance specifically the elections, I don't think there is a problem with those. But in most countries, in absolute majority of countries, if there is a full-blown war situation, that there is a war situation, crisis situation in the country, there will probably not be elections, minus US. US is pretty much the only country that is very adamant about their elections. So is it fair to criticize? Yes, maybe. But I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal. Will winter help or be bad for Ukraine? Both. It's going to be both. What do you think about Major Taylor Greene, Mark Gatz, or Key McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy is pro-Ukrainian, but he's trying to get people to support him. Like, it's his political game. The other two, I believe, are nut jobs. That's what I think. Kevin McCarthy, we all know that he's like how he came to like. The best thing about it, just remember how he came to power. But generally speaking, I'm not the best person to comment on US politics. Poland grain situation, just covered this. Will the attacked the bridge when they have the ATACMS. Look for me a good solution to shrink the support lines off. Yes, but if it's going to be cluster munition ATACMS with a lower range, potentially they will not be used to attack Crimean Bridge. How fast will Ukraine reach the important targets of TOCMAC? We will talk about this next week as a review. All right, no questions anymore. I guess no one is writing questions to me. Everyone dismissed chat, so hey, no more questions. Well, stream done. Thank you so much. All right, no, I'll just, if there is no questions in the questions chat, so I will just read the what you write me in the chat, and you can just write me, just write at the beginning at Ukraine Matters, 2 words with the capital letters UM. Then I will get it, then it gets highlighted for me and I can see what you're writing. All right, Brent, how effective do you think the Ukrainian partisan attacks are? Has it increased, decreased, or are they more focused on recon target spotting for long-range weapon? It's a very broad question, Brent. You need more precision on what you specifically do you mean. Do you mean inside Russia? Do you mean inside Crimea, inside other occupied territories? Do you mean the sabotage groups, or do you mean the scouting groups? It's a complex network of agents that Ukraine is having. Those agents are working, those agents are providing results, and we see the confirmations that the same agents are also, for example, helping Ukraine to hit targets in Crimea. So yes, they are working, but there are different areas of operations with different tasks. Yes. Oh, there we go. Questions appeared on the live channel. Okay, I'm gonna close this question Q&A because no one is writing there. Fine. I'll just read from the live chat. Works for me. Do you use Shitter? I mean, I read stuff in Shitter. I don't really post. I mostly repost there. So yes, I have a Shitter. Why is there no NATO naval escort for Ukrainian grain? I don't know, because NATO weak. Like NATO, that's my problem with NATO, and I've talked about this a lot, but it's mostly because we are too afraid to do the right thing. So we are hiding behind certain premises of escalation of war, that we are not doing what is morally right, and I'm not sure. Yeah. Do not pin messages, questions, windows, hidden, taken. Ah, okay, Michael. Yeah, okay. But the pinned message is more important. Pinned message. Link to our latest collaboration with NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade to get another track to the armed forces, armored track to, not armored, just a vehicle, to the armed forces of Ukraine. Really good one. Ooh, questions. I love questions. Why are you grifting so much lately? Can you define grifting? Why are you grifting so much lately? I don't know. I don't know how to answer it. I'm not sure what grifting is. Let me Google that. Grifting. What is grifting? What is grifting? Grifting. Griftance refers to acts of swindling someone out of money or obtaining something of value through deception, manipulation, or other dishonest means. A person who engages in this kind of behavior is called a grifter. The term is often used to describe scams, cons, or other schemes where the grifter tricks someone into giving away their money or possessions. Grifting can range from simple street con to make elaborative. All right, for everyone that is watching it, you don't have to give me money. You don't have to. Give all the money to Ukrainian armed forces. If you want to support the channel, you're free to do so. Like, I'm supporting some of the profits, majority of the profits of the channel, Ukrainian armed forces as well. But if you're just donating to support this channel, you're welcome. You don't have to give me money. I'm doing it here for you. I'm calling for action to support Ukraine, yes, but you don't have to give me money. I'm not trying to swindle you out of money or obtain some value through the deception, manipulation, or other dishonest means. I reject the statement that I'm grifting so much lately. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Twitter. Yes, yes, yes. Is Ukraine more prepared the winter to project energy infrastructure? Yes, Kellen. Ukraine is more prepared for the winter. However, there are potential reasons there are certain threats from that, because Ukrainian air defense cannot be everywhere. Ukraine is huge. So there are parts and regions of Ukraine that will be more vulnerable to Russian missile strikes than other regions. For example, Kyiv, for the most part, we can maybe think that it's going to be well protected. There are Patriot missiles in Kyiv. There are other very powerful anti-air systems. So that is good. But the other parts, the other regions of Ukraine, maybe less so. So I think yes, in general, but I think that there can be certain exception cases that would require some help. Okay, the Ukraine conference is in DC next month. Are you going? Wait, Scott Parker. Scott, what is the UA conference in DC next month? I would like to go. I would love to go if it's where I'm there. Alexis Kiri, how much reserves do you think Russia has in Crimea? Do we need to worry about this? Not a lot of reserves Russia has in Crimea. Most of the reserves and forces that Russia has in Crimea are the local militia forces, forces that are coming as a part of rotation, and logistical forces that Russia has in Crimea, and the sea forces. That's the only major reserves that Russia has right now in Crimea. All of the land forces are on the front lines. So no, we shouldn't be worried about what's if you're looking about the land part, the land army, then no, Russia does not have a lot of land army reserves. Okay, no problem. Sean Rice, yes. I'm still trying to get this Ukrainian. You are not grifting. Oh, thank you. Oh, you see? People saying I'm not grifting. Okay. I just today found out what a grifter is, so there we go. Billy Smith, so you give this money to the Ukraine. Firstly, not the Ukraine, it's just Ukraine. And yes, I give a lot of money to Ukraine. Well, mostly to Ukrainian armed forces, sometimes Ukrainian refugees. It's like a plethora of smaller donations that I'm doing. So it's something like this. But I'm calling for people to go to the attached link and give money to support, and so we can buy a truck for Ukrainian armed forces directly. There we go. No need to give me money. I'm doing fine. I have a nice job. I have a nice career. I'm well supported as a person in life. Thank you so much for it. But yeah. Like at the start when oh, where is this UA conference? Oh, come on. I watch your stream since you appeared with Starsky in early stages of the war, and I know you're not drifting. Okay. I do not comment, but watch like, okay. Okay, anyway, maybe Ali will save if someone will write this, what is the UA conference in DC next month, because I will be in DC next month, and I would love to go to that UA conference, so. Okay, cool. With the majority of the ICS ships being decommissioned, why don't we send them to Ukraine instead? Mostly staff. You know, Ukraine, let's say Ukraine has a problem with Navy, a little bit. So it's a question if they would be useful. So maybe, but I don't think that would be like a primary need. There has been some deliveries. There has been like satellite images of ships sailing to Ukrainian harbors with patrol vehicles on board of them, like patrol boats. that was delivered to Ukraine. So there are certain patrol and like a mosquito fleet vehicles being delivered to Ukraine for sure, but it's not all of them. Can you please expand on the lawsuit involving Zelenskyy? Sorry for bad spelling. Lawsuit? Zelenskyy? Lawsuit. This is first time I'm hearing it. To defeat Russia, General Zelenskyy pushes to fight on. I have no idea what do you mean with the lawsuit for General Zelenskyy. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Do you think the armed forces of Ukraine will be able to continue this attrition war for long? How come Russians are believing they can prevail on this type of war? So Russians are not believing shit. Russians are stupid. Russians, they don't believe. Like, the absolute goal, the majestic, glorious Russian victory right now, what Putin is presenting to Russian victory and what a lot of the pro-Russian shills are advocating for, is Russia contains the current war, it essentially freezes the conflict, and it then proceeds to try to return themselves to some kind of world stage, given enough time, maybe rebuild certain parts of their army, and hopefully in maybe a decade or so, assault Ukraine again and maybe try to finish the job. That's the golden dream of Russians. That is the ultimate victory that they want to achieve. No other strategic objective, like for example, capturing Ukraine, dethroning Zelenskyy, committing genocide on a large scale, nothing that they want can be achieved. They've been kicked out from any super important place in Ukraine that they took over after the invasion. They are losing a lot of manpower and, most importantly, resources. Any other military that would fight the way Russia is fighting would already have generals tearing their hairs out and saying, we cannot do this. Not only Putin is not willing to stop this war where they cannot achieve their primary objectives that they were supposed to when they started it, they don't want to even stop loss at the current speed. They are committing everything. All of the 60, 70 years of the Soviet Union that was there accumulating military power to fight US is now being grinded down and destroyed in the fires of Ukrainian conflict. Whether Russia wins or loses, it doesn't matter. Russian military is so incredibly damaged, it's so incredibly out of stock, is so incredibly inefficient that they are begging North Korea for ammunition. Russians that were sitting on the Soviet stocks of 70 years are begging North Korea to please give them some ammunitions. They are shit. The winning is basically just a stop, like it's not even a stop loss, because stop loss is stopping this and maybe falling back to the 24th February line and hoping it will end there. But that is not what Putin is doing. Instead, they are committing their forces to counterattack, to kill many, 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 many Russians. Putin is like, I don't know if you know Warhammer 40K, but this is the best example that I'm having, I'm sorry. He's literally burning people just for this status quo that currently exists to happen. It's an absolutely inhumane, stupid, and absolutely non-perspective, like it's a possible, there is no good outcome. Like the outcome is gonna be awful for Russia, just because they are in a sunk cost. They're a poker player that is sitting in their underpants, that have lost everything. They have lost the Rolex, they have lost the Mercedes, they have lost their penthouse. All of that was already lost. They're now sitting in their underpants and they're just hoping, okay, if I just can get one more hand that's gonna be lucky, then at least I'm gonna get back my pants where was the some $15 that I can use to call in an Uber. That is the situation Russia is in. That is the winning that all of the shills and all of the glorious Russians are proposing. The amount of devastation that Putin has brought to the population of Russia, to the Russian military, to completely destroyed. Russia will have no military and no resources stockpiles after this war. It's an empty state. Like a gang from Romania can drive into Russia and take over because Russia is so desperate that they are now asking for resources for someone like North Korea. They are gone. Putin destroyed anything that was remotely related to Russia as a major military state. It's just now the circle jerking of people that looked at the Russian tanks and thought, oh, what a great design, oh, T-14 Armata. There will not be Armata, there will be nothing. Russia will have 15 tanks at best at the end of this war. They are committing everything in an aggressive war. To say that it's stupid is saying nothing. And they're only doing it with the hope that, oh, if we just burn enough men and resources and our stockpiles, then maybe the Western position on Ukraine will change and then Ukraine will not get enough support and then we can freeze this conflict. Woo! Great victory. Amazing leader Putin is. What a glorious Tsar. So victory and what Russians are expecting, very different things apart. Absolutely different. All right. Can the Ukrainian army modify the ATACMS to a high explosive yield? That is actually not a bad question, Tudor. Maybe Ukraine can modify ATACMS. That would be interesting. Given the announcement during Zelenskyy's visit to Canada that Canada will be providing 50 ASCVs over the next 3 years, what will the impact of this donation be? Let me Google specifically what are ASCVs, just so I know. Armored Combat Support Vehicle. I mean, that's like an APC, right? Or something. Ambulances, mobile repair, and vehicle recovery as is. I mean, it's a great support. Over 3 years, that means that there is a commitment for a long-term support. So it's great. It's a long-term support commitment. Love it. What kind of effort? It's going to add to Ukrainian power, Ukrainian sustaining power. So why does it take so long for US equipment to arrive when most of it is held in German storage areas? Bureaucracy, A. Political will, or the lack of that, B. Everyone who is asking questions, you have to... Yeah, okay, there. Yes. I haven't... PY, I haven't heard news about raids across the Dnipro lately. Can you say anything about how Ukraine is keeping Russia stretched thin along the river? Well, they dedicated a lot of reserves to Kherson region. And now a lot of the special forces that used to ride in Dnipro are now riding to Crimea. And we just recently saw HQ of the Black Sea Fleet being blown up. So yes, what was under the naval HQ building? Russians. Donna McNeil, the American Coalition of Ukraine, the American Coalition for Ukraine, they have Facebook page that gives out all of the details. Okay, the American Coalition for Ukraine. I will save this. I don't have Facebook, but I will save this and I will add it somewhere and I will Google and see what I can do. Maybe I'll even create a Facebook account for this. Okay, no, not top chat. I want live chat. Do you think Kadyrov is still alive? Yes. Johnny, how important was the Russian Black Sea Fleet to their attacks on Ukrainian port and energy infrastructure? Pretty important. But it's still operational. Don't get me wrong. The fact that there was a lot of generals killed, it's only gonna impact the planning. They will still just fire the missiles, so it's fine. When you will trim your neck beard? Never. Kellen Dunn, thoughts on UK's new defense minister Grant Shapps? Ben Wallace was so good for Ukraine. I need to give more time to understand what he stands for. So that's a little bit longer perspective. Why the Russian separatists don't attack Russia anymore like they did in Belgorod? Because of the big problem that Belgium raised. On one of the videos, there was a Belgian rifle that appeared in a frame. And after that, it was a big scandal where Belgium was saying, oh, we didn't give you weapons, so you can give them to some kind of pro-Russian fighters and go fight on the territory of Russia. Like absolute dumbest shit ever. So since then, it's been very, very limited in what they're doing. Or at least they stopped publishing it. Enough. With Russia running out of ammunition and reserves and having to relocate units from other areas to support the southern front line, do you expect a sudden collapse anytime soon? Not in the south. We're going to talk about it more when we're going to evaluate the situation, but I don't expect things to really collapse in the south anytime soon. It doesn't mean that it cannot happen. It can, but so far there are very little pointers that point to any kind of major collapse happening. Any chances to see Taurus in Ukraine? Yes. Yes, I believe so. I believe the approval of the ATACMS was in a large part to make sure Taurus is delivered. Do you think, like me, that Ukraine will make a big push the next or 2 weeks? No, I don't believe so. I wish to say to some of the analysts that evaluated this dream of a big push, and can it be done? And more they kind of agree that big push dream scenario is a thing of the past, that it's not really possible. So unless there are very specific conditions, we will not be seeing this big push. So instead, it's going to be this grinding offensive with limited resources, but a long one. Is the Russian air fleet is left on Crimea, or drones hit the most aircraft? There are still air fleet of Russia. Russia has a lot of air platforms still available. Lil Bubs, when Verbove is liberated, do you think a minor collapse will happen north of the settlement? For example, will Russia just retreat from Novoprokopovka and Novofedorivka without a fight? It's possible. Like local, it doesn't have to, but the more Ukraine gains, the worse their position becomes. So it's not absolutely impossible that at some point Ukraine can cut off the northern part. They will be in a very bad positions, but I don't think that they will move away without pressure. I believe it's only when Ukraine will start applying pressure, then they will start moving away. Also, we know the situation, how it's going to develop. Ukraine is going to take over Verbove, and then Russians are going to counterattack to try to retake Verbove again for like 2 weeks. That's the standard practice. The US can accuse Ukrainians for modifying the ATACMS high explosives yield, but not blame them. They're bright and they're defending themselves. Yeah. It's an interesting proposition, definitely. With Russia running out of ammunition and reserves and having to relocate units from other areas to support southern frontline, do you expect a sudden collapse anytime soon? I think I answered this. No. Oh yeah, it just jumped up. Okay, never mind. Do you think they will take Bakhmut or just cut supply? Now we're getting into interesting part. Remember I said that I'm not expecting a collapse in the south? I think Russians and Russian command understands the importance of holding the south. What I am not certain is that they fully understand how much resources they have and how stretched those resources are. So what we might see is collapse in other parts of the front line, such as, for example, around Bakhmut. So I believe they're watching closely on the southern axis and trying to prevent at all costs any kind of breakthrough or advances of Ukrainians. This comes at a cost of what they can do around other parts of the front line. And I already covered extensively those northern parts where they supposedly are preparing a big counter push. We will see. Will the F-16s grant Ukrainian armed forces air parity, if not superiority, and make the Western provided armor the performance seen the past? Yes. In certain quantities. If it's 100 or more frames, yes. 100 or more frames will allow Ukraine to create local air dominance. So they will be able to get Russians the fuck out of certain areas of the front line. That will allow it. Do you think that Ukraine is biding time to see if there is a large Russian mobilization in October, or did Ukraine already fully commit to southern offensive? So, firstly, Ukraine already does a lot of things, and it definitely committed to offensive. That is for sure. However, I believe your how do I put it? You're expecting a lot from Russia that is still living on lies. It is still being seen, for example, by Putin. It's absolutely clear that currently there is enough resources to hold the lines, and they're holding. So they're not evaluating properly the situation just because they are not evaluating attrition. In Russian command, something that is extremely clear when you read a lot of Russian bloggers, what matters is territory control and equipment. Equipment Russia still has. It's shit equipment, but it's equipment. And territory control is what Russia is trying to do. For a commander of any level, losing territory is a bigger problem, and it brings bigger punishment than losing men. You can lose all of your men that you're having, all of the men inside of your units. Doesn't matter. You're going to get issued new ones. Maybe you're going to get like a verbal, I don't know, how do you say, punishment. But if you lose positions, if you lose frontline, if you compromise that, or if you lose a lot of vehicles, then there are starting to be questions about, well, are you even effective? Because there's a lot. The problem lies with the fact that attrition of people with current strategy is quite high. And accumulation of enemy attrition does not, like, while you have resources, you can sustain it. However, when the lack of resources comes from attrition, it comes fast and it comes hard. So reacting to that can be problematic. That's why a lot of Russian military bloggers already right now are non-stop yelling in pretty much every second of their posts. Those that yell, there are a certain number of bloggers that are very, very close to Putin, so they only write that everything is great in Russian military. It's amazing. But there are certain that don't. And those people are saying we are as close to what happened around Izium, around Kharkiv area, as we were back then in certain places already. That there are certain places when there is no operational depth of reserves, where there are no people, and if there is enough push, that it just might break. Bakhmut area is one of those. And what is clear is that Putin is looking at the map. He has this image of the style that Lukashenko is ruling Belarus is bad, because general support for Lukashenko in, for example, 2020 elections was around 3%, very low. But Lukashenko just made the commission of the fake people to say that there is actually 87% support. It caused a lot of turmoil inside of Belarus. So Putin's logic for a long time, and his modus operandi for a long time was, if there is enough visible support for Putin, for himself, then you can do any kind of numbers and you can lie as much as you want. So the problem is that if the number of support for Putin is lower than a certain number, let's say 40%, then it's a problem. Because then there is going to be question when they say, oh, Putin was re-elected with the support of 87% of people. They might not believe it. They might not believe it. And there might be turmoils. And Putin is scared shitless from the popular uprising, because that was his nightmare during Berlin. During when he was in Berlin and there was a big riots against the KGB. It's a fascinating story, actually. We should cover it at some point. But before that, just try Googling it, like Putin, like during his KGB days inside of, I believe it was Stasi called, the German secret police. Putin is absolutely terrified of the popular uprisings. So he wants to always save on the safe side. Remember, for him, it's only personal safety that matters. He is the most important. He is Russia. There is no Russia without him. And he is looking at this and saying, okay, I have elections coming up next year. Elections don't matter, remember. What matters is that people are pacified. And for people to be pacified, he needs to win elections, and there's going to be a very certain result of support for Putin, let's say 62%, something like this. And that 62% needs to be not too far away from reality. And if he mobilizes people right away, mobilization, the first one, was one of the most unpopular decisions and reactions to that Putin has ever saw. It was absolutely devastating to Putin's ratings, and it was absolutely terrifying for him personally, because he literally saw that people really didn't like it. And then he looked as well at the memories of the Belarus, and he says, I don't want that. I don't want those risks. I want to play it safe. So the problem is that this mobilization was supposed to be happening in January. Russia was lacking in forces. Anyone saw that for long-term operations, if Russia wants to achieve any kind of what people refer today in the chat as victory, Russia needs more people. And they were needed basically last year. And it was postponed. The decision was postponed. We saw the preparation inside of mobilization groups. We saw the preparations. Additional people were being hired to help processing in mobilization offices, but the order for mobilization never came. Now, the problem is for Russia that new conscripts are new conscript call-in. Russia has two call-ins of conscripts per year, one in spring and one in autumn. And the autumn one is starting on the 1st of October. The problem is that mobilization system and conscript processing system, conscripts are like people that are from 19 to, I believe, 30 years old in Russia, and they are called in for a year of service, in which time they mostly perform tasks that are related to logistics support, like loading trucks, stuff like that on the territory of Russia. So they're helping the war, but they're not participating on the front lines. So the issue is that that system is going to be loaded with processing conscripts. It's going to be a couple of 100,000 conscripts. That means that there will be pretty much no chance that there will be mobilization at the same time. The system will just not operate. Russia already had issues processing a lot of mobilized. Even as late as August, we were hearing reports that the Russian mobilized from the first mobilization call-in were still being trained and tried to be prepared to be sent to frontline. So there were still slow processing of certain people from that time. The point is, mobilization requires processing of people. Right now, the system that's supposed to mobilize will be busy with the coming conscription. Putin does not want to call mobilization efforts because that might sabotage support for him. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want any risks. So what is happening is that he thinks that everything is fine. Maybe not everything, but it's good enough. The problem is that the pain is accumulating for him on the front lines, which he doesn't see because he doesn't get those reports from the front line. He doesn't read internet, remember? And that collapse and that problems that Putin would need to resolve with mobilization, they will come down as a hammer. That will happen suddenly, and that will happen fast. Where it will happen, now that's a whole another question. All right. Is there an info if the Lancet drones have been modified to a longer range? Sukhomimos, yes. So it was not a Lancet drone, it was Zala drone, first and foremost. We need to be very clear. That struck the airplane. Zala drones were known to be longer range, but the biggest, like, what gave additional questions to that issue, because what happened was there appeared video of Ukrainian airplane was struck that was at least 70 kilometers from the front line, so quite far away. And it was a video by the Lancet drones that went in and blew up right under the airplane. And it was observed by another Russian drone from afar. So the question was, how did this happen? Did Russia just flew in drones through the front lines? And it seems that more likely scenario is that it was because there was most likely it was a special operation. So some kind of Spetsnaz units went behind the enemy lines, Ukrainian territory, and then they launched the observer drone, and then they also launched the attack drone. This is mostly because we don't see a systematic pattern of those attacks. If Russian drones would be able to strike Ukrainian planes, then it wouldn't be just one plane being struck. They would struck one, second, third, fourth, fifth, because it's a no-brainer. So most likely it was just an infiltration behind the Ukrainian lines. Either traitors or something like this. How can Putin know that he needs a whole lot more troops, but then not know he's in trouble? What? El Capitan Dix. How can Putin know that he needs the whole lot more troops, but then not know he's in trouble? Seems like he has to know. Well, like he has to know, but you are trying to be too logical. You are evaluating Putin based on your perception of Putin. That's overestimating Russia from a nutshell. Putin is a very, very common dictator. Like the most absolutely maddening thing for me when we're talking about Putin is that people bring him up as some kind of a genius or a military mastermind or some kind of super tactician or a person that just knows everything. Whereas instead, he's a very petty dictator that has very little, very, very little of actual, uniqueness and smartness about him. He's extremely average in what dictators are. And dictators that are far beyond the point of touch with reality are what Putin represents the best. He is so detached from reality that his perception, when I said that Russian forces need troops, what I meant is not that Putin he needs more troops. That is not what he thinks. He thinks that so far it's fine. It's working out. Ukraine is not getting territory. And doing mobilization is dangerous for me, right? So he waits in. Should we get more troops? or should I try to put myself in danger? And the fact that he's dictator and he's so obsessed with his own safety, he's such a coward, that is what drives him. He doesn't want to be unpopular. He's the most unsecure person that you can imagine. Like, we sometimes laugh at, like, people always like, oh my God, why you so insecure and so on. Like, he's the most unsecure. He's like the smallest dick dude you can imagine that tries to compensate. That's what Putin is. And this is what, as I say, maddens me the most, that we try to put some of our logic, like some of our best thoughts, some of our best ideas, and says, aha, but Putin already thought about this multiple times. Like, have you not been paying attention? Have you not been paying attention of what he was doing? Like, on the second or third day of the invasion, he recorded a message to Ukrainian forces for them to throw all of the drunken narco-Nazi regime Zelenskyy and join the Russian forces. That's how deluded from reality he was. And not much has changed. The things that changed is that he was brought some bad news sometimes, to which he got really mad. And now all of the people that bring him bad news are getting sent to Syria or somewhere else. That's the pattern Putin operates. He says, any news are good news while it's good. And that's how he gets the news. And you're there sitting with analyzation, with OSINT intelligence, knowing more and everything from all angles of the battlefields. Like, okay, yeah, Putin thought about it as well. No, he didn't. Many soldiers with bad winter equipment. It doesn't matter, Russia have soldiers. Please answer more questions, less talk. I love from Denmark. No, Lou. I will talk as much as I want. It's my stream. I will do what I want. If I want to talk, I will talk. Like, what is this? What is this, Lou? Like, Lou, really, I love you, man. Like, you're such a, but like, why would you shame me how I do my stream? Like you don't like me that I talk. Well, I don't know. Just go away. Like, I love you, but like, what is this request? I don't get it. No. If I have something to say, I will say it. Just because I think it matters. Answer more questions. Why hasn't Germany given Ukraine their Mantis air defense system? Very good question. Very good question. I think we should send it to the to Scholz and ask him why not. Yesterday, the Russian dude said the MIOD sent 87-year-old grandmother a recruitment letter. He thought it was ridiculous. A battle babushka thoughts. It's a story, you know. It's just silly. I don't know. Okay, cool, whatever. Lil Bobs, press X to doubt. That's what I think about the story. What is your favorite weapon donated to and currently in use by Ukraine? I'm a big fan of HIMARS, but the Storm Shadow has taken the cake with Black Sea HQ bombing. Tourniquets. Cat 7 tourniquets. Best thing ever. Saved so many lives. So many good Ukrainian lives, sir. So I think that's the best thing that was sent to Ukraine so far. But if I say weapon, then infantry fighting vehicles, like Bradleys, more of them would be nice. Great Southern Land. If Russia defeated Ukraine, do you think Poland will consolidate Western Ukraine? What? Great Southern Land. If Russia defeat Ukraine, do you think Poland will consolidate Western Ukraine? What a silly thing to say. Like, you missed like the whole point that I was just saying, just how fucked Russia is, and just like, Russia is gonna win. I am a smart troll. Russia's gonna win. Completely missing like the whole like half an hour of me speaking. Could be put at the same condition like Hitler in 1943? No, I don't think Putin will end like Hitler. Because Putin is still popular in Russia, first and foremost. And secondly, Ukraine doesn't plan to go to Moscow. Yes. I could have never hoped for such a thought out and nuanced answer. Thank you so much. No worries. Regardless of joining NATO post-war, do you think Ukraine should rebuild its nuclear arsenal and find a deterrent from an invasion? Love the channel. Keep up the great commentary. I don't think so. I think if Ukraine joins NATO, it's fine enough. Nuclear arsenal after they join NATO, potentially yes. Can they dig a tunnel under Dnipro to move tanks? No. It's too big. Many videos show Russian soldiers with bad winter equipment. Do you think it's common in the Russian army or is it just a minority? I think it's a minority. Per Hagling, do you got a like thumbs up from me, number 1054. Thank you. Thank you, Per. According to live Ukraine map, Russia is attacking north and northwest of Bilohorivka, also Bakhmut. Could those places get surrounded? According to live Ukraine maps, Russia is attacking north and northwest of Bilohorivka and also Bakhmut. Could those places get surrounded? I mean, yes, and technically Kyiv can be taken, but can it be done at the current position with the resource Russia has? No. Can you speak on Ukraine's own drone and other production at all? It's a multi-small team production with, unfortunately, so far, very little Ukrainian country support. Ukraine needs to select certain designs that are now being produced by the individual smaller companies and to make a large-scale production. That is a threat from Russia that is coming because their drones are not maybe the best in the world, but they're planning to build a lot of them. So Ukraine needs to stop that brainstorming phase where there is a lot of like different models and whatnot. They need to start selecting models and they need to start scaling. So far, they have not started the scaling process, unfortunately. How can Putin know? Okay, that was already. Yes. With the equipment that is being donated, old, new, NATO, Warsaw Pact, how is Ukraine managing the logistics of maintenance? It's a miracle. It's one of those miracles that Ukraine is doing, and we're not paying enough attention. Like, the logistics are incredible. It's going to be a whole new chapter for people that are within supply chains to understand how Ukraine made this supply chain work, because it's incredible. Big Mac's battle blogger has mentioned Ukraine is developing drones that crazy laser-guided RPG launchers, reusable tank killers like Skynet. Have you heard about these? Yeah. There's a lot of different models. The question is the scale. Like we always need to understand that sometimes it doesn't need to be like a perfect weapon. It needs to be properly scalable, and it needs to be scaled. I'm not saying Putin is a genius. That just seems so basic. Yep, basic is a good word to describe Putin. Where are the small diameter bombs for HIMARS? It's been long enough. Good question. Yeah. Is Ukraine having parts supply problem for some of their Russian equipment? Yes. MiG-29, a crazy country doctor in Bavaria, Germany, is hiding in an atom bunker in Sweden who can keep rational in the world. Yeah, sure. Wow, Lou has been spamming, so I shut the fuck up and answer more questions for a while. There's like a 5th message that I'm reading. Holy shit, Lou. Dude. Sava Junkie, many videos show Russian soldiers with... What? I already read that. Is it been just... Okay, I think it's... Like, hey, maybe Lou was not spamming it. Maybe it was just my chat jumping all the way, like, up to Lou's comment. Just just to piss me off that bit more. Yes. Ukraine needs high media coverage. What's left for ATACMS bridge? Do Russians have same problems in Ukraine? Prioritize attacks like on HQ. That fleet in Bakhmut is old news. I like Z-Bust. Can you use one question at a time? It was very confusing to understand what you meant. Georgie, when you talk more, I learn more. Keep talking, please. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, AJ. Thank you. Now that was a timely compliment. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You know, that's what we drifters do. We talk a lot. Last question. At what point will Putin receive internal pressure to end the war? It will be the liberation of Crimea, or will be taking of Donbass and Luhansk will be enough. We need to understand that everyone is afraid of changes in Kremlin. It's not just us. Anything that can turn Putin is not, like, let's put it this way. There is no love for Putin inside of Russian elites. No, none. What they don't have is they don't have a clear path that would guarantee that they will still be elites after Putin is gone. Because so far, they are kind of like, okay, things are happening. Maybe there is still a chance that Putin will be able to, you know, solve this out. But there is no love for him. Very much. That has been covered by many. Okay, fanfunding. Let's see. Maria, what do you think about Zelenskyy calling out Trump? I mean, Trump earned it. Like, I was very lenient to Trump because it was part of the United States politics, and I tried not to go into the politics. But Trump decided to give his statements on Ukraine, and they were full of shit. So it's just fair. Just fair. And the funniest thing is that people that they're still defending Trump by saying, no, that's not what he meant. He's actually like a pro-Ukraine. He's actually wants to support Ukraine. No, fuck him. So I support Republicans. I support a lot. But I know a lot of Trump supporters that support Ukraine as well. And those people are amazing. But they just like, they put like blindfolds on and say, no, Trump didn't say that. It's like, no, yeah, he did. Like, he wants to literally like give Ukraine to Russia. Yeah, he did. And I was like, no, that's not what he meant. I was like, yes, that's exactly what he said. And it's kind of always funny conversation. So I think calling out Trump on his statement on Ukraine is absolutely is just being realistic. So for a longer time I was okay about it, but then he decided to weigh in on Ukraine, and I was like, okay, no, you're wrong. Anti-troll. Okay, Eddie, thank you so much for $5. John, thank you so much for $10. Armored Rabbit Master, anti-troll fund and coffee, drinks, and snacks to our mods. Thank you. We should send some stuff to mods. I'm hoping that I will do in the nearest future, but let's not tell them that yet. Edward, thank you so much for $10. I wish US would send what it needed and end this war. Yes, weren't we all? Fiki Gucker, thank you so much for £2. After Troll Drinkers, yes. Diaz, thank you so much for £5. Red Chili, thank you so much for £2. Can I buy you a beer instead of coffee? Yes. That would be very, very nice. I like beer. As a person living in Denmark, beer is life. Beer matters. Beers are very nice. White House spokesperson just said no ATACMS. Wait, what? Ooh, maybe no ATACMS then. Oof, oof, oof. Maybe then no ATACMS. Well, that's problematic then. Media is weird. Well, if there is no ATACMS, well, that's unfortunate. But will it really matter? No, not really. I don't think that ATACMS would be a big game changer, but it would be nice to finally get them. Like, it's like the problem is that we both know that at some point they will be in Ukraine. At some point. But it's that waiting and tap dance game, which is really annoying. Any chance of revolution in Belarus? No. It was all going to happen when Wagner was heading to Moscow, then nothing. Is there any good source for information about this? Yeah, Belarusian resistance channels, but right now there is not going to be a revolution in Belarus. No chance. DD Catlover, Russia has a much bigger population than Ukraine. Are you concerned? May not be enough to continue fighting. No, because thankfully wars are not fought by just Excel spreadsheets. Is there a possibility Russia used tactical nukes? No. Well, I mean, there is like a sliver of chance, but no. Georgios, you talked about the elections in Ukraine. How about the insecurity for the candidates and voters? It might be a perfect opportunity for Russia to launch some rockets. Russia launches rockets to Ukraine daily, Duncan. So Russia is striking Ukraine daily, or trying to strike Ukraine daily. People are dying every day from the Russian rockets in Ukraine. Every day. Every day on civilians that has nothing to do with war activities are dying from the Russian missiles. So they don't need to have any kind of special events with anything to strike. They're striking Ukraine every day. I prefer to refer to Putin as bunker grandpa. Yes, that's true. Dale, once Ukraine has won and the war is over, Ukraine will be able to export drones that they make. Yes. They know how to make drones. Yes, you are absolutely correct, Dale. Drones will be a big competitive advantage in military technology by Ukrainians. Clyde seems to think people forget the three signatures for the protection on the denuclearization of Ukraine were US, UK, and Russia. Surely the West are obligated to help Ukraine. Yes, and it does help. So when we're referring to the Budapest Memorandum, and this talk was kind of long overdue. I should have talked about this for a while. I really don't like when Ukrainians are bringing up Budapest Memorandum as a supposed argument that you were supposed to help us, because Budapest Memorandum is shit paper. It's garbage. It's a absolute toilet paper, because it's a very short document. It's like a one-pager. You can just Google Budapest Memorandum Wikipedia, and then you will have like a full text of Budapest Memorandum. And once you read it, the first question is going to be, that's it? Like, is there literally nothing else? And the answer is no, there's nothing else. It's a piece of toilet paper. There is nothing there about what. There is written that the countries that are signatories to this paper are respecting Ukraine in their territorial borders, and when something happens by one of the countries that signed this paper or any other countries that break Ukrainian territorial integrity, then certain actions need to be taken. Something like this. That's it. That's what it says. And I mean, what does constitute certain actions? Does it mean that the countries need to come together, talk, wave a flag in support? That is a certain action, is it not? So Budapest Memorandum has nothing in it that describes any kind of a specific activity that needs to be done in support of Ukraine. So Budapest Memorandum is garbage. It's dog shit. It's absolutely irrelevant to the situation. That is factual. So that's the factual situation. But then we get into the second part of the premise. And the second part of the premise is that Ukraine is a case of peaceful denuclearization. So if we want in a world for countries to realize that if they denuclearize, then they can trust the pieces of papers that they sign for their integrity and their security to be protected. In that sense, what is happening to Ukraine is an outrageous violation of security. But that is a goodwill principle. And unfortunately, already what has happened in Ukraine with number of people killed in Ukraine has already told every country in the world, whatever document you might sign if you have nuclear weapons and then denuclearize, even if some help will come for you, no one is going to fight in your place. No one is going to, by a goodwill, send you weapons and just, allow you to win. No, everyone is going to play their own political game and try to equal out, try to negotiate with aggressor. So there's not going to be like a 100% condemnation of the aggression. There's not going to be any kind of forces coming in to help you. So unless it's on the paper, you're getting nothing. There is no guarantees. This breaks the whole principle of the denuclearization policy that has been in the world for a very, very long time. So when Ukraine tries to appeal for help from other countries and tries to cite the Budapest Memorandum, in the best case scenario, they are pleading to the moral factor that went into that paper. And the moral factor was that, hey, we willingly gave away a certain number of weapons that were making us more secure in favor of world security. And now we're being punished for it. Could you please help us? And that is absolutely disgusting that after that, we are still experiencing some kind of hesitation from the Western powers. I mean, it doesn't matter already by this point, just because Ukraine has suffered already so much that no sane country in the world will give away their nukes for willingly from now on, because the case of Ukraine is terrifying for anyone. The world organizations and the countries that were supposed to guarantee denuclearization of the world and pave a way for a safer, more denuclearized and less threatening world have failed. It failed completely. So Budapest Memorandum and everything that is written in Budapest Memorandum, and actually the moral policies behind Budapest Memorandums, are worthless by this point. So that's why I really don't like when Ukrainians, and I hear this both from President Zelenskyy and anyone else to make any kind of references to it. The only way he's doing it, and the only way that it's playing, is there is some kind of a moral factor in there. But that's about it. Yes. Oh, more questions. I remember, let's talk more questions. 2,500 watching. Yes, thank you so much for every person that is watching. That is actually something that is very interesting. You know, sometimes people write under my videos and everything. They write, "Hey Georgie, like your English pronunciation is bad, or you're mispronouncing word, or you're having a lot of these in between phrases, that you're not the best speaker." And the interesting thing is that I know all of that. I am a person that is a data nerd. I like looking at Excel spreadsheets. I don't really am that great in interacting with people. And I'm not the best speaker, period. Like, I like to talk about, spreadsheets or how to do data better in the companies, things that I'm really, really passionate about. And that is why I am extremely still surprised that my exposure to YouTube has attracted certain attention. That there is now over 2,500 people watching me, a person that can barely speak in English, that can barely put a couple of sentences together, that half of the sentences that I say is like, and then when I try to re-listen to myself, I was like, Jesus Christ, that was terrible. And that is the surprising part for me. So I don't know how to then react to people that says, oh, by the way, George, your English is bad. I mean, thanks. Thank you for correcting me. It's just, I know that I am not the best speaker. That's the whole point. Tell him to suck it. Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, it's like, you know, I don't care, because, you know, it's like what they're saying is not really, like, I'm not angry, I'm not sad about it. I mean, it's just understandable for me. It's like, yeah, I know, you know, it's like, I know. So, like, oh, your English is bad. Yeah, it is. Do we leave Crimea bridge open to give exit for Russian forces? No. Sluice gates, yes. Sluice gates, yeah. Let's not get this started. Oh my God, we're getting into this. PSA, contact your reps. Tell them to support Ukraine. Secular Sakai is absolutely genius in what he's saying. Thank you so much, Secular Sakai. Absolutely, yes. Contact your direct representatives. It really helps. A lot of Ukrainian diplomats have reported that this is one of the best weapon that they have. Much better than Budapest Memorandum. Hugely better than Budapest Memorandum is just having support from lower level politicians in the country. Christopher, also thank you so much for £2. Remember, guys, please check out the attached link. It's another campaign that we're running right now we're starting today with the NATO 69 Sniffing Brigade to gather the truck. So before you do any kind of donation to this channel, remember, I am doing quite well financially. I'm well supported. I'm not using a lot of money from this channel for myself. Mostly I needed to cover for the channel to buy certain equipment, light, to buy I don't know, like a plane ticket to go visit DC, maybe some Ukrainian Congress, stuff like that. So don't worry about supporting me, but supporting Ukraine is what really matters. That is really important thing. All right. Ooh. You are an excellent speaker. Well, I would disagree with that. Some will criticize due to your success. Keep up the great work. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, like, I still cannot believe it. It's. I talk about this all the time with my wife, and I say, it's like, honey, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. It's like, it's so weird because it's also so much responsibility. It's absolutely incredible. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about myself. It doesn't matter. Ukraine matters. Thank you so much. You don't need to... Yes, I appreciate the compliments. Thank you. You don't need perfect English to convey a message. Man, Danny, that's one of the best sentences I've read ever. Not just me, but a lot of the people, especially Ukrainians that I'm listening to. Not a lot of Eastern Europeans know English quite well. So it's a little bit it's very encouraging to hear this statement. It's very, very nice. Yeah. It's okay. We don't here to listen to your channel. Thanks for your perspective and free education. Well, not a big educator here. Okay, that would be a good name for a YouTube channel. Yeah, I guess. Will the Kherson region bring you some surprise in the near future? Things might happen. Like, what we need to understand, Werner, is that with Russian forces being attrited, it creates weaknesses, and weaknesses create opportunity. So when we're talking about certain things happening on the front line, it's more of an educated guess. No one knows the future, unfortunately. But it's an educated guess, and we really try. Which languages do you speak? Latvian, Danish, English. Yeah, Latvian, Danish, English, Ukrainian, Russian. 5. Сука, бля. Where is your accent coming from? Latvia. I'm Latvian. But though people say that my accent is not very Latvian, so I don't know. I think it's now a mix of things. It's just a amalgamation. Do a lot of Ukraine watch your channel? No, not a lot. I believe it was 0.3% of viewers are from Ukraine. By the way, I only speak English and not well at all, Robert. Keep up the good work and fuck the haters. I don't mind the haters, you know? It's like, it's internet. Like, it's fine. It's okay to have haters. As a public personality, it's okay to have people that send you death threats. I think that's just something that just comes along when you put your face out there. I think that's what makes democracies great, is because we can share a lot of really awesome opinions. We can share things. Like, people can have opinions that are wrong. And people can support Russia, unfortunately. They can't do it. They're wrong. They're completely not wrong. But, you know, we're not going to try to kill them or Teledansk. Yeah, selvfølgelig they can Teledansk. Yes. Okay, I derailed the whole question thing with the English thing. Well, I guess, I mean, like, how long we're already online? Oh, we're like 2 hours already online. Okay, yeah, I guess we can just chill talk a little bit, and then we can drop it off. Thank you so much if you are here for the information. I don't think there's going to be a lot more information here. I'm going to answer certain questions, but now it's going to be just more of a cozy talk, guys. So big thanks for joining in for the info. And we'll see you tomorrow for the map update, and I'm gonna do more stuff. And then next week, I'm gonna do the review of the summer campaign. Oh, I'm gonna have things to say about it. Huge thanks. Love. How can we disconnect Russia from the internet? I need a big X. Yeah. You can come across as the knowledgeable professor from the Hollywood films of the 1940s. I don't know, I would guess I was more of like a nerd, especially with the Danish style glasses. Seriously, if I was to pick your accent, I would say Mexican. Unfortunately, Spanish I don't speak. Good night, guys. Good night to everyone. How long do you think the war will last? Love from Denmark. I mean, the length of the war has been estimated a lot. And there were good assumptions at the beginning. Important is that a lot of those assumptions that are saying that they're wrong, I think they were right. What I think was not expected that it will be... like, Putin will go all in. You know, because the initial thought was, oh, Putin is going to try to do this fast blitzkrieg war, but when it failed, and it was exactly as people were estimating that it's going to fail, then no one was really expecting that Putin will try to do even more. Yet he did. No one was expecting that they're going to mobilize, yet he did. Russia still has resource. An unfortunate truth is that they are building capabilities, they are building connections with other countries. It's not enough to completely sustain, but it's definitely still enough for them to last a year or two for sure. So they have enough tanks, they have enough artillery, though with artillery now there is a big question. Just recently there were these pictures I might share. Maybe I can open it somewhere. You know, so some of the pictures of Russian artillery yards came over, and these artillery yards has shown that a lot of the Russian artillery have been degraded significantly. So what basically, when people counted that artillery got degraded, I'm gonna open this picture. Yeah, perfect. Hello? Yes, there we go. So it's a small picture, but it essentially showed that there has been a lot of artillery taken from the stockpile. And at first it looked like, well, there is still about, less than half left. However, people looked with a more detailed understanding, they noticed that, for example, on this picture, which is one of the biggest artillery yards of Russia and just like a part of it, they noticed that most of these vehicles, they don't have barrels on them. So potentially whatever is left there is just a spare parts. That these vehicles are actually not drivable. That these vehicles don't really act as a actual working artillery. So there is a chance that potentially Russia is even more degraded in a lot of areas than some people expect. But even with what they have right now on the front lines, it's still quite significant. It still requires a lot of work for Ukrainians to work through. So I would not say that, I would not expect, if let's put it this way, ceteris paribus, with all things equal, I would say that this war would still go easily for a year and a half, 2 years. How can we stop Russia's capacity to build drones, or how can Ukraine do that? Sanctions need to be enforced more strongly. Yeah, it's only if China decides to pressure it. Like, for example, recently China announced that they will not be allowing the supply of drones, but there's a caveat because they don't have to supply drones. They might just supply some parts of drones, you know, some motors and stuff like that. So there are nuances, and Russia can just assemble drones themselves. Thank you so much for coming and watching me, all the guys that are saying thanks to me for the stream and the work. Thank you so much for watching this. I'll see you drifting next time. No, I don't worry about my English. I mean, it's I was mostly expressing it as a peculiarity rather than me being how do we say, uncertain or feeling that I am not good enough. No, it's fine. I'm just saying that it's interesting that a person with not as good of an English and not as a wide appeal, apparently, because I was never public, like I never got any kind of public recognition, suddenly just appeal to YouTube gods, whatever. Yes. Oh, Armenia, Kazakhstan. Well, it's a difficult topic because that's a generational conflict, right, between Armenia and Kazakhstan. We've seen this war happen over centuries, and it was a war with many, many atrocities for generations. However, there are certain things that we need to distinguish. There are two things that in my mind, separate. One is Armenia and Azerbaijan as a countries in itself, and two is the action of getting Azerbaijan in control of Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh as well. If we evaluate the countries without thinking what they're doing, logically, I would want to support Armenia. But the problem with support for Armenia is that they sold their soul to Russia. For a long time, they have been steadily supporting Russia despite what it was doing. They were absolutely irrelevantly looking at everything that was happening around them, and they had options to opt out. They had options to equalize their position with the Western powers for super long. Especially if we take Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh, these guys were the most pro-Russian motherfuckers that you can imagine. Like when Russia invaded Ukraine, they were cheering up there. When there was all of the attacks against Ukrainian cities, these people were walking out there and waving Russian flags. These Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians were the most pro-Russian bunch that you can even imagine. That is the fact. And technically, we should have supported Armenia because it's a democracy and we should support democracies. However, they've given up on a lot of humanity and humanity-related aspects in favor of their weird agreements with Russia and friendship with Russia, special relationship with Russia that they were having. And now they just are paying consequences for the fact that they decided to ease up and just make friends with the authoritarian dictator. That is from the Armenian side. Azerbaijan is technically in the right, because here we need to look at the second question, because in a second question, when we are considering what's the situation over there, there is a certain formation of people with weapons that do not comply with the rules of a country they're residing in. Because the truth is that all of the countries in the world, including Armenia, have accepted and acknowledged that this Artsakh or Nagorno-Karabakh region is fully in a legal control of the territory of Azerbaijan. So when we're saying that Azerbaijan is invading Nagorno-Karabakh, is the stupidest thing to say. If we let's not look into Azerbaijan as a country and who is leading it. We're gonna get to it. But if we're just taking this statement as a situation that there is some territory of a country, and in that territory there is a military force with weapons, then that country X, without direct conflict, has the full right, if that territory is world recognized, to take control of that territory and make sure that the rules of that country are followed on that territory. It's countries, modern countries 101. That is a no-brainer. But then we get to the fact that Azerbaijan is a human right violating dictatorial state, where if you, like in any dictatorial regime states, if you are against the regime, then better not do, because it's a dictatorship that is also passing along in the like a best cases of Middle Asian dictatorships. Well, Azerbaijan is not Middle Asia, but in the same format that it's just passed over from father to son. It's not a good place. The fact that the Azerbaijani regime right now supports Ukraine, has been supporting Ukraine from the start, does not mean that it will support Ukraine tomorrow. And as with all of my attitudes towards dictator, I think all of dictatorships are pieces of shit. So while I appreciate the Azerbaijani support for Ukraine, I have no love for Azerbaijani regime. I have no love for the way that they are treating their minorities, and I have no love to seeing that, unfortunately, with the consolidation of power around and resolution of this frozen conflict, which is a good thing, because that's the first conflict that got resolved one way or another after the fall of the Soviet Union, finally. Unfortunately, that will just consolidate dictatorial power. So it's a difficult question. If I just evaluate the situation, I would say Azerbaijan is in the right. However, because Armenia sold out their souls to Russia and now just paying for making deals with the devil, and Nagorno-Karabakh people were absolutely pro-Russian shitholes, well, you got me, then for me, it's an argument to choose between piss and shit. So that's how I feel. It's not right. It's not right. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people on both sides that would say, it's like, no, it's not like that. Like, you're misjudging. We should be doing this and that. But that's how I feel. That's how I feel. And I feel it's yeah, I acknowledge that maybe it's not fully right, but that's how I feel. Jose Oliveira, just letting you know, watch you on my 65-inch 4K TV. Oh, that's awesome. Jeez. I actually sometimes rewatch my videos, unfortunately, because some of my friends or wife wants to see it, and then we have also somewhat of a bigger TV, so. You communicate highly efficiently, in my opinion. No, that's not true, AJ, but thanks. Ebag M, your English is better than some of the native speak. Yes. Igloo, thank you so much for 20 Canadian bucks as well. Same with Turkey. Yes, I don't trust Turkey for how do you say? I wouldn't trust Turkey at all, because Erdogan is just like a smooth-brained dictator. Like the economy situation that he got Turkey in is just ludicrous. That's the worst of the smooth-brained dictators that he's doing, and he's trying to play it cool and trying to play it how on the world stage, like, look how I'm resolving a lot of these conflicts and I'm such a sultan or whatnot. But like, his economy is such a shitter. People in Turkey that I know, the Turkish people, really good guys, are crying loud and saying, oh my God, how can we live like this? Our economy is such shit now. People are like doctors, like dentists, dentists, like dentists earn a lot everywhere. Like, it doesn't matter where, almost anywhere in the world, dentists earn a lot. And like, I know dentists in Turkey that can barely get their shit together just because the economy is so bad. That's telling. Turkey more like Shiki. Well, it's not Turkey, it's Turkey now. Remember? Yeah. Yeah. Elimination of Armenian people. Yeah. It's a long conflict, Brand, because there was a genocide of Armenians. Then, by the way, Armenians also committed horrible war crimes when they came into the territory of current Azerbaijan. It's a really bad idea to go into that. It's really bad. Like, it's very, very close to what we saw in Europe for centuries before we finally stopped killing each other and started considering, hey, maybe instead we can do Eurovision. Well, at some point, I'm hoping they will have, I don't know, Turkey-Armenia vision, but not so far. So far, not really. Just gotta congratulate you on some very impressive numbers. 2K watching, 2K likes. Many chants only carry like 2/3 of less ratio. I am surprised as you are, Lauren, and thanks so much for everyone watching. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate every one of you. Like, if you haven't heard the story at all, I've started this channel for two of my friends to help them explain what's happening in Ukraine, because at that moment, like, there wasn't this much exposure to that we're having right now. Like, right now, so much translation is happening and so much engagement is happening between Ukrainian news journalists and telegram channels and so on, that are being translated to Twitter, to news posts, to public opinions. Like our Discord server, by the way, a really good one. We have many good channels, and some of them are like battle updates where they're just gathering information from everywhere and translating it live. That was all not happening. It was not there at the start of the war, and that was how I just started it. And yeah, it was just 2 people, and now it's like 2,000. Sheesh. Yeah, Turkey needs NATO. Yeah, but NATO is also benefiting from Turkey being there. We're now 2,000 friends for sure. Yeah, that's actually how I'm getting along with all of this. Like, I'm just thinking that I'm just talking with friends, and this is what helps me communicate. This is how I got over my anxiety of trying to communicate with camera. I am mostly thinking that I'm just on a phone call or a conversation with some of my friends, and that's how I'm just talking about it. That's why I sometimes don't filter my words, and sometimes I say stupid things. Sometimes I piss people off. Sometimes I being an asshole. But yeah, we already talked about assholes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. It's 1:00 a.m. For me. I'm gonna slowly drift off to bed as a proper drifter that I am. See you guys tomorrow in a video. Next week, we're gonna sum up at the weekend, and if you're in the US, maybe we should meet up in DC or something like that. Would love that. Would love that for a beer or something. Have a great evening, night, day, whatever you're having. See you. And Slava Ukraini, and I love you all.